3 years ago, we met.
Because it was Isogenics
event. I was standing in the front of the room, and I was greeting people as they walked in just because I was in a delightful mood, and you saw something in me. So what I wanted to say is that I believe I met like 100 people that day, but you said, I want to get to know you more. And you did by asking questions and listening. And at the time, I was interested in getting involved in the real estate community because of personal reasons. A big reason was to overcome the fear of the telephone. And I have to say that because I did that with you, because I mentee with you, and because I watched you and I observed and I listened and I struggled, and because you actually took the initiative to tell the truth, meaning regardless if I wanted to hear it or not, regardless if I wanted to hear what I was doing wrong or what I should be doing, you didn't hold back and you just told the truth. And I really appreciated that. Although in the time I was angry at myself and took that out on you, I really appreciated it. And it changed my life. Because from hiding in the bathroom, not wanting to make the phone calls, to maybe it was one thing that you said that just hit me. I turned that into a real love for communicating with other people, not just on the phone, but even more in real life. And 3 years ago when we met, you were a big part of that. That's come to help hundreds of people today because it was a part of the journey of Culture Matters. So
yeah.
Words can't really describe. There's a million things that you did. There's a million things you did. When you didn't have to, you lent me a mattress to sleep on. I was in a really tight spot, leaving a company that I had started and left to restart my life. And if it wasn't for, those little things, you wake up on a mattress and there's ants on you. Some Craigslist ad in South Philly. But you got to get up in the morning and make phone calls that you're afraid to do. But you were there. You were there to tell the truth. And because you did that, I'm who I am today. So, I could keep going probably for 30 minutes on all the things that I want to check off the list of Maria helped me with this, Maria helped me with this. But part of why I'm going to ask you questions and learn about you today is because I think the world should know who Maria Quattrone is. Someone that I believe started real estate 11, 12 years ago, young, successful in sales, but had to start all over again and kick ass and take names. And you've done almost over $250 million in real estate sales, with 95% of realtors aren't in the business within the first 18 months. You've helped thousands and thousands of homes buy and sell, hundreds and hundreds of people. And I think people should know your story. So that's one of a billion testimonials I'm going to give for you over the next 100 years that we know each other. So I want to start with an interesting thought. It's a month before you get into real estate, right? 11 or so years ago. Is that correct?
14.
14 years ago.
Yes.
It's a month before you get in real estate. You're in a sales career. Is that correct?
Yes.
Where is your head at in that career, and how did that transition you to get into real estate, which was totally different?
Totally different. So I'll tell you a story. I had dinner with a friend of mine, a very, very good friend, Peter, and we're at Soul Food over in the Lowe's Hotel, and we're eating. I remember this very, very vividly. We had a glass of red wine. We're eating some steaks. He asked me, "Can I ask you a question?" I said, "Sure." He said, "Have you ever thought about getting into real estate sales?" I'm like, what do you mean, with the sign? You can carry the sign?
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know anything about real estate. He's like, "You're such an amazing salesperson. You're not happy what you're currently doing. You've been there for 11 years. You've been looking for something else for 3. He said, "You should really talk to my business partner. Maybe he could help you out and find out more about real estate." So that's what I did. I stalked the guy, Steven, and his business partner. And in a month later, I finally had coffee with him. And we sat down. He actually came over to my house. We had coffee. We talked for 2 hours. I asked him every question. So I'm like, what's it like? How much money can I make? So then I start, because I was already successful in
what
radio.
What business was that? Okay.
I sold radio airtime. I was an account manager for a group of radio stations. So we did marketing programs. I sold air. So if you could sell air.
You could sell land.
You could sell
whatever.
Pretty much anything. And when I was selling air, I got into that business in 1994. And my first year was horrible.
Why?
So, you know how we talked about the phone?
Yeah.
Okay. So
And our love for it.
Okay. Well, I didn't have a love for it.
Okay.
In 1994. And let me tell you what happened. I was in college. I did an internship at KYW TV3. It was an NBC affiliate at the time. I was in their sales department. Go figure. So I'm working 3 jobs and going to school full time, and I'm doing an internship. And it was fall of, I guess, 93. And there was a job opening at the NBC affiliate in Atlantic City, in Linwood, New Jersey, WMGM TV 40. So I talked to the people at the TV station. My boss at the time, Lisa, spoke with her, spoke with some other people, and I secured myself an interview. They said, come down on a Saturday morning at 8 a.m. for an open call. I'm like, so I suit up. You know, back then we wore pantyhose and like a suit, right? You know, a skirt suit, and I went, and there were 72 people there.
72 people that were interviewed?
Yes, 72 people.
And you're one of them?
And I'm one of them.
In college still? In
college still. So long and short, I secured the job, and I was hired in April. I think it was very end of March or beginning of April. I had a job. I graduated May, I think 9th, with a Thursday, and I started my job on Monday.
Okay, hold on. You're one of 72 people. A lot of people are interviewing in their lives to get ahead, or they'll have to. What's one piece of advice that you'd give to someone how to win an interview? Because you're 1 in 72 out of 72, and you got it.
1 in 72.
How'd you do it? What are some things?
I think enthusiasm.
Okay.
I think the number one thing that they loved about me is my enthusiasm. I think my grit, enthusiasm, relentless. I kept following up with them. I didn't really know I was following up, but I kept calling, and
so
we didn't email then. There was no email. You couldn't
calling.
hide behind the email or the text.
Interesting.
I had to keep calling them.
So you had the interview, and then you kept calling them because it was...
I wanted to see if I was getting the job. So I had the interview, and then I came back for another interview. I had 3 interviews, and then by the 3rd interview, they had called me and sent me in the mail the offer.
Wow. Okay, so you get to the point where you have the opportunity, then what happens?
I get the job.
Yeah, you get the job.
I got the job.
Then where
I was like, no. Wait, so I quit all 3 bartending, waitressing jobs. I finished college, and 6 weeks later, I show up at my new job. Nobody else even had a job. They're like, how did you even do it? I'm like, I worked. I've been working. I've been working since I was 14 years old.
Many jobs while in college.
Yes, I worked like 50 hours waitressing and bartending, and went to school full time. I paid
communications in
communication.
College. Did you believe that would? What was the reason that you chose communications and not history or biology or some other thing? I mean,
did you ever hear about RTF?
No.
A communications school of Temple University,
okay.
School of Communications with SCAT. And then in SCAT, there was RTF, radio, TV, and film, or what we called it, rather than fail.
That's cool. Okay. Radio, TV, and film. So you were interested in that because you...
So I was interested in that. I took journalism classes. I took classes about being a broadcaster, on the radio, on TV, and then I took this one class it was a sales advertising class. Jim Loftus was the instructor. He was at the time the general manager of Power 99 FM.
Oh wow!
And
he was just helping.
He came in. I was instructor. He came in. It was a night class, 6 o'clock to 9 o'clock. I think it was on a Wednesday night, maybe, or Tuesday or Wednesday night. And he was living in Scranton, working in Power 99 in the city. But he chose to teach this class. And so he was one of my first mentors. He came into class, he had this is like 1992 or 3. He had a long leather trench on. He had a phone back then.
Oh, like a big phone. No one had a phone.
It was like, the A size. It wasn't like the real big one, but he had a phone. Nobody had a phone. He had a Mercedes. He had a leather briefcase.
How'd you feel though? Did that inspire you?
I loved it.
Yeah.
he would sing my name, Maria. I just
So he had enthusiasm.
He had enthusiasm, and I said, "What?" I would ask him questions like, "What do you do? You know, how much money do you make?" Because for me, I thought at that time that making six figures was like, "Oh my God, I made it! I've arrived." But we all know that has nothing to do with any of that.
Wow, and I want to get into that for sure because
that's a whole nother conversation. But he had the luck. He had what appeared to be the life that I wanted. So I said, "Well, if he could do it, I think I could do it too." And he was very nurturing. He was fun. He was entertaining. I learned a lot in his class. Of course, I got an A.
Yeah.
Couldn't fail that one. And so that's what led me into the internship at KYW TV, which led me to working at WMGM TV 40.
Selling air.
Yes, this was TV air at the time. My first job out of college. So what happened was I arrived at the job, day one. Guess what happened?
What?
They gave me, I had a desk, I had a phone, a yellow pages, a notepad, a pen, and a box of business cards. And I opened up the business cards and it says Maria Quattrone on it. And I'm like, wait a minute, my name's Maria Elena. Did you even know that?
I don't think I did. Elena.
My name is Maria Elena. Maria
Elena is your
Yes.
first full name.
Yeah.
Is that the first time I ever heard it?
Well, what happened was I came and they had the business cards and they just chopped my name in half.
Okay, so you just went with it?
I just went with it.
What was going through your mind? You're the first, you got this job. Your friends and people around you are like, how'd you do it? 1 of 72. You arrive and then you have cards and a phone and a pen. It's like,
and they said okay.
And they cut your name in half. But it's like, are you I feel maybe overwhelmed. Like, what do I do now?
I'm like, what do I do now? So the training was basically, I don't recall there being much training. Call people, get an appointment, and sell them TV time.
That was the general ethos or idea. It's like, hey, this is all you do.
Yes.
So you had a mentor in school, and this guy, it was his name Jeff, right? Jim, the professor with the phone, and you took a liking to him, like he inspired you. Was there a mentor in this, like in this first day, this first week, this first month? Was there someone that you were drawn to that it was just you? Mm-hmm. So in school, in this class of communications, Jim is a mentor to you. You were listening and open to his, I guess, persona and what you learned from him.
Absolutely.
Have you always sought out mentors, or have they kind of sought you out?
I think it's a combination of both. I think that sometimes sometimes you click, sometimes you don't click. I've had coaches through my career. I just now have a new coach again.
Awesome.
Different one than before, but I think that when the student is ready, the teacher arrives.
I like that quote. Yeah. Bam. So your first day on the job in selling air for TV or radio, but it's that first day, and there isn't necessarily a teacher. How did you overcome it and get through it?
Oh, you have the bathroom story?
Yeah.
I was hiding in the car.
Okay.
So I had this yellow pages and a pad, paper, and pen.
Yeah.
So for the first week or two, I was trying to get the lay of the land about the about the TV station. And I'm not exactly sure what happened for the first few weeks, but I started to make phone calls. And I was petrified.
Do you think you forgot in a sense because of that, that fear? Because it's all a blur almost. I've been there. It's like a blur.
I don't know. Maybe.
But you were scared.
I was petrified of the phone. No, I still remember the feeling.
Okay.
I still remember the feeling. I just don't remember exactly how.
Because something clicked at some point where you just started doing
What happened was I started to do it. And then I would get scared and hang up on people. In the middle. I would say, is Frank there. And then Frank would be coming to the phone, and Frank would at the phone, and I'd hang up on Frank. He's the owner of the furniture store.
Interesting.
Right?
So anyone watching this is thinking, well, I'm not a big fan of the phone either. I'm probably going through the same thing. How did you overcome that?
I'm going to tell you. So what happened was I would make lists of different businesses that I thought would be a good target audience, okay? Just like you do in sales.
Yeah.
Who could my customers be?
Okay.
So I did that. So then I said, maybe it's better if I go in person.
Okay.
Well, my boss said, Ron, which he was so nice and so caring, he said, Maria, maybe you should go in person. And I'm like, okay. He goes, so I get in my car, and I had a really big territory. Atlantic County, Cumberland County, Vineland County. I don't even know Vineland. This whole area down there, okay? So I made a list, and I would go to the businesses. And I'd walk in, and I'd say, you'd be there, and I'd say, could you tell me who the person is that handled the advertising? Well, they're like, either there's an advertising person, there's the owner, or there's an advertising firm. Those are the only three people: a marketing advertising person, the owner, or an agency. So I knew I was looking for one of these three people. So I would get the information. Then the next day I would go back and I'd call the person that I got the name for. So now I at least have a little bit of a warmer thing because I'm not asking who's the decision maker. I know the decision maker. Now I'm calling. Okay. So so I'm starting to get a little bit of momentum.
So you created like a process.
I created a process. I created a system. So I said one day, I said to my boss, I said, listen, why? Is there any reason they can't buy like a long-term contract? And he's like, no. I said, okay. I said, could we do maybe one A, B, and C package? So we did a 13-week, a 26-week, and a year.
Huh.
Now, if you bought time for 26 weeks, it doesn't matter if it's $500 a week, $1,000 a week, $2,000 a week, 26 weeks straight, 52 weeks. It could be 26 weeks over a year. So you could do it every other week. You commit at this time. You got a free commercial at 26 and a free commercial at 52. A, B, and C. Which one did they choose?
A B? I probably learned that from you, but...
B.
Interesting.
So you know what happened?
That didn't exist before you, though.
Not that I know of. Some people had like a 52-week contract, like Shore Memorial Hospital. But...
No, you created this ABC system.
What happened was, guess what happened?
What?
Within 16 months, I was the number 2 salesperson.
Well, you know what Arthur Schopenhauer said. Talented people hit targets other people can't hit. The genius sees a target other people can't see. So you created something.
What that allowed me to do was to get my job in Philadelphia that I wanted. I wanted to work in Philadelphia sales.
So you were able to choose where you got to work.
So what happened was I had already interviewed at Star 104.5 2 years ago. Before
Okay.
2 years prior. They wouldn't give me a job. You don't have experience. Go get experience.
Interesting.
I went and got the experience. I didn't let people stop me. You know, was it easy? No. So see what I did, what agents don't do today, you don't have a fear of, then it's door knocking, right? I kind of went door knocking. I went from business to business to business. Isn't that the same, going from a house to a house to a house? 100%. Don't people get business from going to houses?
So you went physically, you got information, you used the information that you got, and then you would call with the information. What I mean by information is the name, so you felt like it would create more of increase the conversion of the call, correct?
Absolutely.
And that was your process. And then when you sat down for the sale, you offered them options, which they didn't feel sold. They made a decision to buy.
Correct.
Which increased your conversion again, and you were number 2 within 18 months of a company that had been around forever.
Right.
And then you were able to decide where to go next. There's like a million things and nuggets in there. I mean, people should be watching this again and again and again. So, okay, 10 years in the business, killing it, doing exceptionally well. You could buy your own metaphorical big phone like Jim, I guess, right?
My big phone.
There was a point where you decided to make a shift, or something was occurring in that industry or business that it just wasn't enough. What was that?
So,
you know?
Although there wasn't a ceiling in the radio business, there was a glass ceiling. So I would hear all the time, I would say, I want to earn more income. And it was an interesting business because you would have accounts that you would manage and you would get rev commissions from. And then sometimes when you got a lot of accounts, and I went and found this one and I found that one, brought brand new business in, they would decide, oh, we got to hire some more salespeople. Guess what happened?
What?
So those accounts that I was managing, like the Acme markets or the University of Phoenix accounts or whatever, they had the ability to take that account from me and give it to you, Jay.
Wow, that's terrible.
Terrible. And guess what, Jay?
What?
It happened not once, not twice, not 3 times. So here I am, building my business.
Yeah.
I have my base. I build on that. I grow the market share we're getting from that advertiser by putting in value add, taking good care of them, sponsorship opportunities, putting all these things together, and then they decide to take it away and say, because I'm a hunter, I can go out and hunt more.
They want you to keep doing that.
Right?
Was there no option that you could then lead and get a percentage of the person that came in and took an account?
No.
Wow, that's a terrible business model.
Terrible.
Well, you know that now, being as good as successful as you are in business. So
after
that one of the main reasons?
after quite a long time of this going on, if you're a salesperson and they're taking your business from you, and you live literally, we're commission salespeople, even though we were employed by them, W-2. We got paid $24,000 a year salary, draw against commission.
So it's just...
So it's straight commission
minimum,
sales.
yeah.
There's no bare, because that money came out of your commission. So if you had a $100,000 sales month that you brought in revenue, and let's just say across the board it was 10%, and you have 10 grand. The $1,500 a month comes off the 10 grand. Then you make your commissions minus the taxes and whatever.
So there was I take 3 steps forward, 4 steps back is where you were 10 years into it, you felt.
It was just constant. It was the constant thing. And then after 10 years, when I actually got in, I said to myself, this is a 10-year career. I don't know why, but I did.
Interesting.
So I was now at the point when I actually left and had resigned, I was in 11 years. So I was overdue for the new career.
So this Steve gentleman comes into your life and he has a business partner, and you see the opportunity, you start to see the opportunity in real estate.
So Steven and I met, and I'll tell you what happened. Steven and I met. I asked a lot of questions. Like, I'm trying to understand the real estate business, how it works, how you get paid, what's the opportunity? Because I wanted to be in a business that I did not have a ceiling, that I got to decide how much or how little I earned. So I thought real estate was a great opportunity for that. I talked to him about just what the day was like. What do you do? How do you get your clients? And all these things. And of course it was scary because I was leaving something that I was really good at. But I put a plan together. I met with him, I guess, in November of 03. By December of 03, I decided to sign up for the classes. In January of 04, I took the classes. I took the weekend courses. I went up to Ben Salem and took them. Wow. It was probably the coldest January on record. Snow up to here, freeze. I would wear the coat the whole time for 8 hours in the class because they had no heat.
So you did it on the weekend. It's 8 hours on Saturday and Sunday kind of thing.
Yes, and then worked full time at the radio station. Yes. So I had my license in March. I had my first closing, I believe, in April.
Okay.
And from there...
You got the license in March, first closing in April.
Yes.
How'd you get that first
it was my
piece
friend.
of business? So someone you knew and trusted you. Was it a buyer or a seller?
It was a buyer.
It was a buyer, and you helped them buy a home? Or
buy a home in Bella Vista on South 6th Street.
So you're still working that full-time job, crushing sales there, though.
Crushing it, making my numbers.
How did you do the time block there? And for anyone watching, over $250 million in real estate you sold.
Crazy. It was crazy. I worked 7 days a week. I worked from, 7 a.m. till 11 p.m. pretty much every day except for Saturdays and Sundays. I didn't work at night till that late, maybe till 8 o'clock or something.
Wait, 7 a.m. to 11 p.m.?
Yes, because I worked basically 2 jobs.
So that's 15 hours times 5. It's like 75 hours.
I was working like 90 hours.
Yeah, like Elon Musk.
Like, like crazy.
Yeah.
It was a crazy time. But you know what? It didn't feel like work to me. I thought it was fun.
Why? Why is it fun? Why was it fun?
I had passion for it. I had enthusiasm. I've really enjoyed helping people. It was challenging. It was hard, but it wasn't as hard for me as probably some other people because I paid my dues in 1994, 1995. I started my sales career way before that, though. When I was like 9, I was selling popcorn and lemonade on the corner.
So tell me that, you're in
10
middle
cents.
school.
I was in elementary
or
school.
What? Or
Catholic school.
You're in Catholic school. Was it a mentor or an occurrence that drove you to be an entrepreneur?
I don't know.
It was like the clouds parted and the sun was like...
It was like...
Be an entrepreneur.
No, I think that I always wanted to earn money. I was always an earner. I don't know why or how, and maybe it was something from, my...
You have how many siblings? I know Lisa.
Yeah.
And you have another sibling?
Damon.
Damon. I've never met.
Yeah, my brother. He's married, 2 children, I have a niece and nephew.
So growing up, it's you,
Helen.
Lisa, and Damon?
Helen.
What are the differences?
10
Are you the
years
youngest?
later, then 17. I'm the oldest.
You're the oldest. Is there a lot of responsibility with that? I'm an only child, right? I'm responsible for just me, and that's hard.
Yeah. That's a good question. There's a lot of responsibility. I would take care of my brothers and sisters, cook dinner for my family. I would help my mom out. When she was working, I would go pick up my little sister at daycare. And I was young. I would get on a bus. Oh, gosh. Maybe 11?
You're 11 years old.
Getting on a bus, going several miles to go pick up my little sister, getting back on the bus.
Which little sister? Lisa?
Helen.
Helen? Okay.
Mm-hmm. She's 7 years younger. Cool. But here's crazy. One day...
And I have met her. It's been a long time.
Yeah, you met her. I took the wrong bus.
Really?
And I
At 11, you're 11. You remember this?
Mm-hmm. I took
Where'd you end up?
I wound up about 1.5 miles or 2 miles from where I had to go.
What'd you do?
Well, I only had 1 token left, so I had to get back. So I ran because I had to be there by a certain time to pick her up. So I ran all the way there.
To pick up Helen? Mm-hmm. Did you make it on time?
I made it on time.
How did you feel about that?
I wasn't good.
You were upset?
I was really upset. I was crying.
Did you feel good that after that you
realized?
realized?
I got her, and I got home, and I don't even know if I told my mom and dad that story. I probably did, but I don't know. I think I told them. But it was
the
not
first memory. Not in a
it
sense
wasn't
of
good.
like. Before that, were you entrepreneurial? Or was it after that? Because you mentioned 9 years old being a little bit of a.
I was making lemonade and the popcorn. When I put it in little baggies, we buttered it and salted it and got scoops of it and put it in the baggies and got a card table out, went on the corner of our street and sold the stuff. Huh. Then one day I get in the mail and I'm like kind of, I say newsy, but I'm always looking around and stuff. So we get the mail and I pick up the mail and I see this catalog and it says, oh my God, you can sell cards, Christmas cards, Hanukkah cards, wrapping paper, birthday cards, and for every item you sold, you got $1. So this would happen in the fall. So I got the catalog. I would go from, this is when the door knocking started. Okay. I knock on the door for all the 3 blocks within my area. I grew up in Castor Gardens in Northeast Philly.
Northeast Philly.
Mm-hmm. Don't want it.
It was difficult.
It was difficult. Knocked on the door. Hi, Mr. Doran. I'm here to sell the... Would you like to buy any wrapping paper for the holidays?
You're 9 years old.
Yeah, I'm not. I mean,
You're young.
I'm young. I mean, I'm in maybe 5th, 6th grade.
And you're You get this catalog and you say, hey, I can go door knock.
Yes.
What was do you remember the first door or doors?
No, I remember just going, and I remember the first year I did it, I made $124.
Now, $124.
So that means 124. I sold 124 things.
Houses.
Houses.
How many houses do you think you probably had a good conversion? What was do you remember your process? Did you smile?
Of course, I was cute.
You were like a happy-go-lucky.
I'm like, hi, I'm Maria. I'm your neighbor. I live down the street.
In 1 year, you said? And that was in a year?
No, like a couple days. Like I went over like a week.
You really hit it.
Yeah.
Too bad you didn't have a real estate license.
I know. At night.
Yeah, who knows?
So that was my first experience. Oh, that's probably the second. The popcorn and the lemonade was probably the first.
That was the second.
Which was, so then, you get all the money. I collect the money when they buy it. So this is a smart thing, right?
Yeah.
I collect the money. $3 for a box of cards. $4 for a box of cards. I keep $1. I send the rest of the money in the mail. Remember that? The mail?
Yeah.
To the card company.
Okay.
And then they ship the box to me. And then, I guess I get it probably the end of November, early December. And then I go and deliver all the stuff to...
While you're doing this,
listen.
okay, I'm just
I
so excited.
deliver all the stuff. And then they tip me too.
With the houses. Oh, because you went back to deliver it.
Yeah.
So you had your integrity was on the line. Like you
I had to deliver all the stuff.
Do you think that psychologically prepared you many years later for being a responsible business owner?
I think it had to, Jay.
Because a lot, you could have just not went back, right?
Yeah,
If
but
you were
I
not
live in a
good.
neighborhood. I would never do that.
Because that was the culture.
That was the culture. Right?
Yeah.
We went to Catholic school. They beat you up.
Was that difficult?
I was kidding.
Well, yeah, yeah, sure. Was that difficult being? It was. I'm a little ignorant when it comes to schooling of that nature. Is that all girls?
That was high school.
So this is elementary school.
This is first to 8.
First to 8. And were you studious? Like I didn't.
Yes,
my story. I got kicked out of school. I was like, "Argh." Were you studious and entrepreneurial?
In first to 8, I was
First to 8,
serious.
you got your work done, and then you went and did your popcorn sales and door knocked.
Yes.
When you went to high school and transitioned, that was the all girls. Was there a rebellious stage there in a sense? Or did you believe you were becoming?
Oh, that's the other
entrepreneur?
Maria.
Yeah, there. What was that like going to an all girls school?
I didn't like it.
Difficult.
I didn't like it. It was difficult for me. It was, I think, puberty is difficult in general. And it was hard. I would do stupid things like look, I have these little earrings on, right? But these are nice little diamond earrings that I bought myself. But I would wear these back then, it was really popular to wear these big earrings.
Yeah.
And wear your skirt short and wear your socks rolled down. All things that you cannot do in Catholic school.
Interesting.
Guess how many demerits I got?
How many?
A lot. To the point where I had suspended.
Really?
Twice. My parents had to come. Not good.
But you finished,
Of course.
and you went to college.
Went to college.
Was that a familial culture in a sense? Like, get your schoolwork done, go to school? It's like, my mom was like,
Well, we had
She's like,
dinner, so we
you'll figure it out.
We did sit every night and have dinner together as a family, and we did our homework after school, and we had chores to do. So I always had chores. I always had make sure the homework was done, make sure the projects were done. I usually didn't like to wait till the last minute because it stressed me out. Still stresses me out to
So you
this
get
day.
things done early.
I like to get things off
How's
my
that
plate.
helped your real estate business doing all of these transactions?
Follow up, relentless, follow up. Do what you say you're going to do when nobody's looking.
It's powerful because, listening to your story, personal childhood growth, I hear responsibility. And we see it in business. We see it in real estate. The person that doesn't make the 30 contacts a day. I remember when you were teaching me the telephone, it's like I knew if I talked to this many people, and I tracked it. Not every day's perfect. Not every day gets tracked. But tracking it then gives you confidence. Like, hey, I used to have to talk to 12 people to get an appointment. Now I could talk to 7. And you could look at these things.
Well, if you don't track it, you can't measure what you're doing, right? So tracking gives us the ability to see where there's blind spots, what needs to change, where can we tweak. We know if we call this many people, 12 people should equal 1 appointment. That's average. 12 calls should equal 1 appointment. You need 2 appointments. You need 2 appointments to get a contract. Talking about listings in this case, right? Real estate. Right? You need 2 listings to get a closing. Now, this market's been a little bit different, but let's just say on average.
You have all those numbers laid out.
Right.
You can do it.
You got 12. You said 12 contacts appointment. 2 of those to get a listing. 2 of those to get a closing, and that's like a general average. Let's say.
Because sometimes they fall apart. There's
whatever.
Whether it's the buyer, the inspection, or the buyer financing, or there's a myriad of reasons why. But generally speaking, if you know the basic numbers, you can work backwards to determine how many sales that you need to make in order to make your commitment. So we stop using the word goal.
Interesting. I like that. Tell me why.
Because a goal is just, what happens if you don't do the goal?
Nothing.
Exactly.
It's like no...
But if you make a commitment, you're a commitment keeper. You make the commitment. What does a commitment mean?
Integrity.
Yeah.
Personal attachment.
Personal attachment. So now if you don't make your commitment, keep your commitment, what happens? It's more personal, right?
That makes sense.
Does it make you feel bad?
It could.
It could. So if I made a commitment to you, Jay, saying I was going to do these 3 things this week, and then I didn't do them, how would that make you feel?
Not to trust you, maybe.
Right. But how would it make me feel even more so?
Heck yeah.
Right.
More likely so, yeah.
It would make.
Okay, so in a sense, just to follow, the commitment involves another person that you could let down. A goal, people could let down themselves, and people are so damn used to letting down themselves.
Right.
So add an anchor to it in a sense.
It's an anchor, and
I like that.
it's integrity too, right? So every time that we don't reach our commitment, we're chipping away at our integrity, and then that affects our self-esteem. So we're going to do what we can to make our commitments, keep our commitments. Like, I'm committed to do X, Y, Z. I said by this time I'm going to do X, Y, Z. I got to do it. I got to find a way. If there's not a door, if there's no door, build one.
Wow.
Find a way.
Who was it over time through all of these entrepreneurial endeavors from 9 to now that you have created that understanding of build the door?
Absolutely. See, and you read the book Compound Effect by Doran.
Yeah.
Okay, so, I used to say this in real estate all the time. People said, when I got into business, well, where'd this lady come from? Where'd this girl come from? Well, I came from 1970. I just didn't appear here. See, everything I've done prior to has brought me to where I am today. It didn't happen overnight. All people see, they don't know the story. They just hear the glory. They don't know, and you've heard that.
Yeah.
You talked to a lot of people. You said you did 95 interviews.
This year, in the last 14 months, yeah.
It's a lot of interviews. You met a lot of people who were probably very successful in their own right.
Yeah, and I see a lot of patterns.
Right.
And a lot of metaphorical making sure that they got to their younger sister on time. I see a lot with
That's
the
a
one.
commitment. That's a commitment, right?
You're like, my whole mind is melting, Maria, right now. Like, this is why I do this, because I'm just having a moment. So anyway, as you were saying,
so if I didn't make that commitment, right, what would happen? Well, I wouldn't have gotten her in time, so I would be in big trouble. My mom would probably be in big trouble because we didn't get my sister in time. You can't just leave kids at a daycare.
No.
Right? They have to be picked up. But that's the level of commitment that we should have when we make a commitment. And they're not easy.
In a sense, that was perpetuated through consistent actions that you've taken
right?
in your life to make your commitments, keep your commitments, go back to what you said, what your life lesson was, I believe is very powerful. When you do something consistently again and again and again, like you said, yes, I've done 95 interviews. The consistency of doing something helps the individual grow in whatever it is that discipline is.
Because that is you'll never be the same after the 95 interviews, will you?
I'll ask, you would know, even as an objective person outside, and please be honest, scale from 1 to 10 when we first met, how good of a listener do you think I was? Be honest, because you will.
1 to 10?
1 to 10. 10 is great.
Is 10 good?
10 is amazing listener. 1 is, he needs help.
Seriously?
I love you. I agree with you. And that's the reason I started doing the interviews.
And I don't mean...
Please, no, I love you for that. It's, yeah.
I would...
I was a 0.
You didn't listen.
Openly.
0. Did not listen.
Nothing.
Then I got you to a 1.
Which I appreciate.
And then we made some progress, but...
It helped me grow astronomically. Now, the interviews started because Jay decided he really needs to learn how to listen. And it's, am I a 10? No, that's silly. I think, we'll die trying to be. However, I
think you're like an 8 now.
Well, thank you very much. You don't have to say that in the camera. But no, I appreciate that. It has changed my life. So what you're saying about the compound effect and about the...
It's everything we do, it's taken I used to explain it to salespeople all the time like this. Take a pen and a piece of paper, draw a line. Draw another line next to it. Draw another line next to it. Draw another line next to it. And 365 days, if you drew 365 lines, how long would your line be?
Well,
okay, that's a compound effect. Every day that you learn, every day that you focus on your craft, you started here with 1 line, but look how far you've come.
Is that how you've been able to help, I don't know, thousands of people buy and sell real estate?
Absolutely.
$250 million in real estate sales. Most agents don't do even $1 million in a year. $250 million's a lot. Is it because of the compound effect?
I think it's because that's one part of it.
Yeah, what are the parts? Why? Why were you able to do this? Why were you able to help all these people?
Why do we help all these people? I think one thing is telling people what they don't want to hear, having tough conversations with people, especially in shifting and declining markets. I think being direct and being honest about pricing is huge. I don't always get business because of it, but I might come back and be number 2 or 3 broker.
So you sometimes lose business because you're not willing to not tell the truth.
Correct.
Okay.
See, we have a responsibility, a fiduciary responsibility as an agent to our client to tell them the truth about the market. We don't get to decide whether, because they tell us, I have this happen to me all the time. I had a listing. It was priced too high for a variety of reasons why, okay? Client wanted to offer, let's say the listing was $700. They wanted to offer $600. I took the buyer through the listing. He said, I want to offer $600. I said, okay. He goes, you're not going to argue with me about it? I said, I don't get to decide. I'm not the seller. You're the buyer. He's the seller. My job is to bring you together. My job is to present all offers. If I don't present it, I can't close it. So I encourage everybody to bring offers, to write offers. And I tell my clients the same thing. Problem is, in this industry, buyers are too afraid to tell their client, yes, well, let's bring that offer. Let's write that offer.
Buyer's agents.
Buyer's agents. They'll say, oh, it's too low. No, the seller doesn't want to take it. We've had higher. Guess what? We have had higher. And guess what? This thing that I'm telling you about, that I had the buyer as well, is now under contract for $637,750.
So he was skeptical of even offering what he wanted to. You said, you guided him
Let's
and said,
write it
this
up.
is what my job is.
Let's write it up.
And then it ended up being
Sold, under
$637,000.
contract.
He got the helm.
Yes.
When the seller originally put to the world, we want 100,000 more, or 700.
100,000
And that's just
more,
one example.
basically. One example.
Okay, backtrack. What gives you the confidence to be able to have conversations with that? It could be a couple things. with your buyers? Because you have to go to the seller's agent and have that conversation.
Well, in this case, I was the seller's agent, so I didn't have to fight with myself.
Okay.
I just
Okay, so no, this is great. What is the justification for that occurring if you're the seller's agent? Because this can become a very interpretive, subjective conversation.
sure.
However, I believe there's so many lessons in
Here's
this.
the thing. I don't get to decide, Jay. I'm going to say it again.
Yeah.
The seller can decide. The buyer can decide. I don't know what's in the seller's head. I don't know what their financial situation is. I don't know that they just got a big tax bill that they didn't know about. I don't know nothing about nothing, even if I know them. People don't. And here's the thing. Things change. They could say one thing 6 months ago and completely different thing that's happening today. Wouldn't you agree?
Of course.
Absolutely. So I don't get to decide. I will present the offer. I'm required to do that, and I will encourage offers. Now, I'm talking mainly about resale. New construction is a different business, and it's different, and commercial and investment, everybody should make offers all the time on that. But regular resale business is handled differently than new construction because there's certain numbers that we have to achieve. We have a development of properties.
Yeah, I think the context is important.
We have a development of properties. We have to make sure we achieve those numbers for appraisals and things like that. I'm talking about a one residential or multifamily, 4 units or less, resale property. The buyers and the sellers get to decide. My
Something
job.
I learned from you.
So, okay, you know what? You're the seller.
Yeah.
He's the buyer.
Yep.
I'm the waitress. You're the chef. He's the diner. I'm the waitress. I go to the customer. What would you like on your steak? Well, I would like béarnaise sauce, portobello mushrooms, onions. I want it medium rare, and I want this extra truffle butter for $40. I'm like, well, the steak's $40, and all these things are extra. So it's really, what you're asking for is for $60. Okay, but that's what I want. Okay. I go back to the chef. You're the chef. And I go, chef, this diner wants this, but he wants to pay $40 and not $60. And you're like, well, I don't know. What do you say? You're going to say?
Yeah, like, well, I don't necessarily do that.
Okay, well, what do you want to do? What do you want to give them?
50.
50. Okay, so you're going to do all this stuff in here?
10% off.
You're going to give it to him for $50?
$10 off, yeah.
I go back out and I tell him, okay, he's going to give you everything for $50.
Yeah,
See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I am just the messenger. So when we're working with our buyers and sellers, our job is to deliver the message.
So you don't see it as you're attempting to manipulate anyone. You see it as you're attempting to facilitate a transaction.
I don't get to decide. My job is a broker, and it's to broker deals. It's to get the deal done. I was hired by the seller to sell it, hired by the buyer to find them a property that they want. Our job is to get to a meeting of the minds, and I am passing information.
Is that the same idea or belief system that you use regardless if you're both sides or just one side?
I think that you have to be transparent on all sides.
Transparent is a word that is important
Transparent.
for you.
Transparency. Here's what it is. Good, bad, or indifferent.
Was that your general belief system from the beginning of real estate, or did it develop through the experience of doing thousands of transactions?
I don't think it has anything to do with real estate.
Tell me. What do you mean?
I think I've been transparent most of my life. I'm a little bit wear my heart on my sleeve, good, bad, or indifferent. I believe in transparency. I'm not good at political. I don't get involved, and I'm not talking politics. I'm talking about being political. I'm not good at taking this information and manipulating it to it's very almost black and white. All right, it's either this or that. Here's where we are. There shouldn't be a lot. I don't like the gray.
You do a lot of business. There was a time where you were doing 40 transactions a month with a team of people, residential, resale, banging the phones, all that. I've learned that from you. Do a lot of development as well. And that's been a big piece of your business the last couple of years. Is that correct?
Yeah, we're doing a mixture of business. I mean, mainly we work with a lot of investors who are buying property either or to flip, to hold, whether it's commercial, residential. And we have listings right now. We have a listing for a triple net lease, a Divina Dialysis center for $4.7 million.
Wow.
So we're working in that capacity as well. We have offers out on a 64-unit portfolio of single-family homes. We're working on putting another deal together of 22 buildings. And I just sold a lot for $12,000.
So what's the mindset behind helping real estate consumers?
We work in between.
And when you say we, explain that. You have a team, obviously.
Yeah, absolutely. So I have a team of people that assist in everything that's in the real estate transaction. I mainly am the business development person for our company. I go out and I guess you could call me, the rainmaker, so to speak. I mean, I'm the brand, I'm the name, but I can't do it by myself. I would never be able to do it by myself. My team is the best. They work very hard to ensure that, the good marketing is put out there. Have you seen my new Instagram posts and everything?
Yeah.
How's it look?
And you're doing photos and you're putting yourself out there. A lot of people aren't putting themselves on Facebook and Instagram and social media. You have in the last couple of months. Where did that mindset shift? And then I want to talk about the team.
Oh, it's time.
Okay, so on that, you're saying it's time. Where does the
level up
courage or openness come from? Because for many years, you've been successful in the real estate business when many people leave real estate business.
Right.
However, it seems like with the times changing, you're changing. A lot of companies, Sears is a good example. They don't change, and then they go crumble.
I've been wanting to do it for quite some time. And I said, I eventually just ripped the Band-Aid off. And I had to look within myself and say, what's holding me back? And I know there's certain things that are holding me back. And I am embracing them and looking at them head on and figuring out how I can move past them. And so it's...
Even now, after being so successful.
Even now. You know that, right? The most successful people they're constantly...
It seems as though it's more than... Well, I'll tell you this. I just wrote something recently on this. It's the higher level 100 millionaire is an actualized billionaire.
Oh.
Yeah. The higher level one.
Interesting.
Because think about this. Someone that has $100 million, we'll just use an arbitrary number like that. You said the compound effect. Well, 10% of 100 million is 10 million. 10% of $100 is $10. So wouldn't it be really quicker to go from 100 million to a billion? Well, why are so many people not there? Because the higher level 100 millionaire is the actualized billionaire that is much more powerful. So I just decided I'm only going to coach really wealthy people that are actually not wealthy, but they're just rich. But I digress. What I see in you, and I think it's why I was drawn to you 3 years ago before Culture Matters mattered, was that you think open, curious, and I think it's your commitment to responsibility. And I never got your story that deep about 8, 9 years old doing it. Your commitment and to responsibility is analogous to so many of the super high level. And when I say this, it isn't necessarily financially. Super high level people that I've been able to meet the last couple of years doing these interviews, for example, that have more than the money. They have health, wealth, love, and happiness, and all that. And yes, I do see the pattern. Compound effect of when I stopped talking and did a lot more listening, I realized that there really is a big difference, and it's like leaps and bounds. And I'm excited because I've wanted to see you on social media for a long time. And I mean, what we're doing today is an example.
I should have been doing it for a long time.
But you are now.
I'm now.
And to me, that's extremely powerful. We're going to have to do another conversation because there's like a million more things I wanted to ask you. And I think we got like 30 trillion videos out of this because there's just so much knowledge bombs. But the last thing I want to know is, if you were to today, you're 14 years involved in the real estate business. Within the first, by year 4, would you say you were really starting to kick it? Was it year 4 or 5?
So when I got into business, we didn't finish that conversation, but the first year, I got licensed in March of 2004, February 5th, 2005, February 5th, 2005.
Got it.
I left radio. I never looked back. Within a month, I had an assistant, or maybe 2 months, because I had to find the person. But
Yeah.
I was like, this paperwork.
You hired somebody.
Hired somebody.
By year 3, how much transactions were you doing?
Year 3. Let's see, year 1 part-time. I know I made like 70 grand part-time while I was working at the radio station. I think that was like 16 or 17.
Wow. Transactions.
Yeah, that's
First year, part-time.
People part-time.
Full-time job.
Full-time
part-time
job.
real estate. Second year was like...
Second year was 34, but that was really first year because it was one full year.
And
Which
then,
is
so
1
year
month. It was
3.
11 months. 11-month time frame because I started February.
Got it.
So it was like 34. And then I think I went to like 52.
With the assistant.
Yeah, and then Lisa came in, my sister.
Yeah.
Right? So she's been with me
So there
and put
was-
up with me for...
Well, that's why we need to do another conversation. We just have
put up
to
with
talk
me.
about Lisa.
But I have a great team. And honestly, Jay, I could not, and I tell them this every day, I thank them. I could not do it without them. It's like, do you imagine playing football with just a quarterback?
Yeah, it's a stupid game. I don't know what that's called.
How could you do that? Well, that's real estate.
Yeah.
How could you just be one person? I find that, look, there's rainmakers, there's salespeople, there's contract management, there's marketing, there's listing coordination, there's operations, there's financial, there's marketing for the company. How can one person do all that?
Can't.
So I saw that immediately when I got into business. I said, this is the stupidest business model I've ever seen in my life. Because now I'm doing it, and then my friend over here who's sitting 10 feet away from me at the same company, he has to create the same systems and processes, or maybe different ones. We're all doing it. So I decided when I opened my company 5 years ago that I was going to have systems and processes for everybody. So if you came to work with me in my company, you get everything that we have the same thing. I don't have one thing and we're competing against each other. We work together.
So when you started Remax at Home, you said, hey, I'm going to create a system so when people come in, they're able to succeed at a higher level because it's a team.
They already have a system and
aspect.
process in place. They're not making up their own system and process.
Well, and I can attest to
taking
that
what we have.
when I was learning how to pick this dang piece of plastic up and create relationships, which I have, and I'll show you some of the testimonies. I got people randomly in their house. One of the FISBOs that I met, we built a relationship of friendship over this because I called her. She's like, I got a video. I'll show it to you after this.
Really?
The last question. Yeah, I'm gonna show you. Because of you. The last question I wanted to ask you is: year 1 part-time killed it. Year 2, got your assistant, killed it. Knowing everything that you know today, after $250 million plus in real estate sales, what would you tell yourself, and if you could have a conversation again with who Maria was when she hired her first assistant, and it's like you're taking that leap to build out the team and what would become this systematic system to help people.
What would I tell you?
Yeah, like what are you talking about?
I would tell myself that it's all about the employees first. It's about the team first. It's not about the clients first. It's about the team first. It's about the people that work within your company. If they're good and they're strong and they're happy and they're treated well, then the clients will be treated well. And I made that mistake of not looking at it that way. Like they were doing something for me. I thought that my team was doing something for me. No, I'm there to help them.
Holy shit.
Do you understand?
Does culture matter?
Yep, culture matters. No, it's culture matters. It's really important.
Yeah, wow.
So it took a while. Unfortunately, I'm a little stubborn. It took a while for me to figure that out, but
you figured it out.
I figured it out, and I think that's why now we're really starting to get some really strong momentum. And
Sounds like it.
yeah, it's really exciting times. Lots happening.
I'm excited for the future and excited that we did this, and we're going to do more of these.
Yeah.
You're awesome.
You promise?
Yeah. Oh, heck yeah. Yeah. This is
Thank
awesome.
you.
Yeah.
I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
This is awesome.